That's the smell of a new business. It's the smell of opportunity, of blood, of sweat, of tears. So you've got a business name, you've got a logo maybe, perhaps you even have some paying customers, and you're now encountering the million-dollar question. Where the hell do I incorporate my business? Now, I'm not going to be a Wyoming homer here. I'm not going to tell you that everybody should incorporate in the cowboy state. That's not true. Not everybody should. In fact, perhaps only a small subset of y'all who are watching this video should consider incorporating in Wyoming. But if you are one of these people who delivers a virtual good or service, perhaps somebody who lives outside of the US, or somebody who already lives in a low income tax state, consider incorporating in Wyoming, the cowboy state, because of its low taxes, high degree of corporate secrecy, and incredible business appreciation and freedom. In this video, I'm going to explain the pros and the cons of the Wyoming LLC and give you two highly actionable approaches that you can use to start your first Wyoming LLC in the prairie state, in the cowboy state. All right, let's go. The first question we have to ask is, why an LLC? Now, before I get into that, let me first give you the standard disclaimer. I'm a dude on the internet. You either found me through a suggested video on YouTube, or maybe because you typed Wyoming LLC, how to start a Wyoming LLC, something like that, into YouTube search. So I'm just some weird guy on the internet. Don't trust what I say 100%. This is not legal advice. This is not financial advice. Disclaimer, done. Okay, so why an LLC? I'm not going to address the differences of LLCs versus S Corps versus C Corps in this video. There are other great videos on the topic on YouTube. I'll try to link to a few in the video description below. What I will say is that for the vast majority of new business owners and freelancers, an LLC is the single best method of incorporation. Basically, an LLC, it stands for Limited Liability Corporation, and it is designed to cover your ass. So setting up an LLC is really this cover your ass play. What I mean by that is it's designed to limit your liability so that in the event of a lawsuit, the damage is limited only to those assets that are under the umbrella of your LLC and does not extend to your personal assets. So what this means is that in the event of a very low probability for most businesses, but high impact event, your house, your car, your cash, your personal assets are going to be safe if you have correctly incorporated an LLC and if you've run your business with a clean separation between your personal and your business accounts. So that's why you want to set up an LLC. Now, in the next section, I'm going to explain specifically why a Wyoming LLC might be a good fit for you or why it might not be. Okay, so we've talked about why opening an LLC is a smart move for most new business owners out there. Now we're going to talk about why opening a Wyoming LLC might be a smart move for you. Now, if you're convinced that you already want to do this, go ahead, click the links in the video description below. You'll see some really good resources there, including my two recommended resources for opening a Wyoming LLC. Those are Registered Agents and InkFile. I'm going to be covering more about each of those services in the upcoming sections in this video. But first, why Wyoming? Why Wyoming? Say that 5 times fast. That's kind of difficult. First, it's cheap. So it's about $100 to register with the state of Wyoming. That's going to be way cheaper than Nevada, than Delaware. Those are two other common incorporation states for small business owners out there. Going to be cheaper than California. And it's cheap because there are no business filing fees, there are no office filing fees, and there are no taxes if you have no property in the state. So again, that's a good fit potentially, that's the key word here, for those running a remote service or business who are already located in a low tax or in a no income tax state. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Wyoming has really good asset protection laws, and it is a very privacy friendly state as well. So as far as pure privacy goes, if that's your number one criteria above all, I would probably look at New Mexico. New Mexico is a more privacy friendly state than Wyoming when it comes to incorporating an LLC, but Wyoming is still one of the top most private LLCs in the US. So those are just some of the reasons that you might want to incorporate in Wyoming. So when I say Wyoming is private, here's what I mean. Basically, LLC owners and managers, they're not required to be listed on the articles of organization. So essentially, you could have an anonymous LLC in Wyoming. There's also obviously no income tax in Wyoming for corporations or for individuals. So that means that your LLC is not going to have to file any personally identifying information with the state of Wyoming. And it's a good state. It's a very business-friendly state. And this is another reason that I have personally opted to incorporate there. You know, when I look at states like California, my home state, I just feel like they're going in the wrong direction from a business regulation perspective. I'm not confident that taxes are going to stay where they are. I think they're going to go up. And I don't think the tax revenue is going to be applied to solve social issues all that efficiently. Wyoming, I feel very differently about. It is a very business-friendly state. It definitely leans libertarian. And at the time that I'm recording this video, a senator from Wyoming named, what's her name? Cynthia Lummis. I'm actually not sure how to pronounce that. But she's fighting against an infrastructure, Biden's infrastructure bill, which in its current form doesn't distinguish cryptocurrency proof of work from cryptocurrency proof of stake, which is really problematic for the crypto industry. Now, if you didn't understand that last sentence, no worries. Just take a moment to appreciate that there's at least one U.S. senator who does understand the implications of that, and she's from Wyoming. And yeah, she does have the Bitcoin laser eyes in her profile, or at least she did. So just a small anecdote here that I think does speak to the larger truth about Wyoming as a very business-friendly state. And that's probably the biggest reason that I feel just very comfortable to incorporate there versus other states. Okay, so I can hear you now. You want to incorporate in Wyoming. It sounds like a great option, but I'm here to tell you, hold your horses, cowboy. Let me get one thing out of the way first. If you're living in a state with income tax, so if you're a Californian living in California, unfortunately, incorporating in Wyoming is not going to do a damn thing for you. You're still going to be subject to California taxes. The only way around that is to cease being a resident of California and to establish residence in a state with no income tax, which I will explain a little bit about in another video that I'm going to link in the video description below. So for those of you who are wanting to be clever and want to incorporate in Wyoming or in another no income tax state just to avoid state taxes, sorry, it doesn't work that way. I wish it did. It would be incredible, but the reality is the first thing you're going to have to address is what's called your nexus, or your domicile. So if you have a rental property or really any physical real estate in a state with income tax like California, if you have auto insurance there, if you voted there, those are all things that would imply that you're still a resident of California, and therefore that California is going to expect you pay income tax. Okay, so the Wyoming LLC is good for those of you who already live in a no income tax state. So maybe you live in Texas, but you want to incorporate in a state with better privacy features when it comes to their LLCs. So that's a potential use case. And then another use case is for those of you watching this who, like me, actually live overseas, you live abroad, you claim the foreign income exclusion, and you want to incorporate in a no income tax state in the US. So those are two potential use cases where a Wyoming LLC would be useful. The third, of course, is if you live in Wyoming and you want to incorporate there, which you should if you live in Wyoming. So yeah, with that, and obviously, again, caveat, right? I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a CPA. Talk to a professional. Don't just listen to some guy on YouTube. My role here is to kind of give you, is to be directionally accurate, and then you go out and get the specifics from a pro who's paid to know the specifics. Now, speaking of specifics, we are going to jump into the two best ways to incorporate in Wyoming. I've used both of these myself, and the first one we're going to talk about is InkFile. So let's get into the InkFile section. Okay, so now that you know you want to incorporate in Wyoming, let's talk about the specific options you have. I'm going to give you three. Okay, the first one is called InkFile. We're going to talk about that in detail in this section. The next option is the DIY option, and the third option is called registered agents. That's a middle ground between InkFile, which is really good hands-off all-in-one package, and the DIY option, which is obviously labor-intensive but cheaper. Registered agents is a really good middle ground. First, let's talk about InkFile. So InkFile has three packages. The first package is the silver package. The nice thing about the silver is if you go with it, you're only going to pay the state incorporation fee for $102. That's right, you're not paying InkFile anything that first year. How do they do that? How is this possible? It's because they make money on the back end, right? They make money year 2, year 3. You're going to pay $119 for every subsequent year that you're with them after year 1. Personally, I like the mid-tier package, which is called the gold package. The reason I like this with InkFile is because you not only get the company incorporation, they also open a bank account on your behalf that, and the bank they use currently is Bank of America as of August 2021. And they're also going to get an EIN for you, which is an employer identification number. So good option for those of you who are just really looking for hands-off approach. The third option, in my opinion, is not really worth it. It's called the platinum option with InkFile, and basically all you get there are you get a domain name, you get an email address at that domain name, and you get expedited filing. So not really worth it for me. I'd rather just buy the domain name myself, use Google Apps to set up the email address. And then if you want expedited filing with any of InkFile's packages, you can pay for that. So you don't have to get the platinum to get that expedited filing going. So personally, not worth it in my opinion. I would just go with the mid-tier gold package with InkFile and be done with it. So if you want to incorporate yourself, you could basically incorporate directly with the state. You are going to need a registered agent who is somebody who acts on your behalf. And then you're going to need to set up an EIN. I've seen some other YouTubers talk about how setting up an EIN is difficult. Yeah, it's a little bit of extra work, but honestly, it's not that bad. I'm going to link in the video description directly to the IRS's website. They're my least favorite governmental organization, but they are where you can set up an EIN in a few minutes. So if you didn't want to use InkFile to get the EIN and you just wanted the DIY option, I'll give you that option in the video description below. So yeah, overall, I really like InkFile. They also have a lot of really good resources about company incorporation. So make sure you check those out. I'm going to link those up as well. Specifically, they have state filing times and prices page. That's useful. They have a sales tax calculator. And they also have an S-Corp tax calculator if you're considering an S-Corp. It will show you how much you would save or wouldn't save by opening up an S-Corp in a particular state. So if you do decide to go with InkFile and you go through the link in the description below, I will get a commission for that, which I certainly appreciate. It enables me to keep making videos like this. If you don't want to go with InkFile and you want to go with the DIY option, that's awesome too. Again, you're going to have that resource in the video description of how to set up an EIN. Just know that you need to have a registered agent, and that registered agent should be responsive, because you might get some mail to your business address in Wyoming, important mail perhaps, and so you need somebody who can essentially act on your behalf and forward you email or forward you physical mail and that sort of thing. Which, if you go with InkFile, you don't have to worry about that, right? One of the advantages there. So in the next section, I'll be talking about registered agents, which is my number 2 recommended way to incorporate in the cowboy state. Let's get into it. All right, now that we've explained InkFile, we're going to talk about the best kept secret in the land of Wyoming LLCs. That is the website, wyomingagents.com. So these guys are really great. I've used them multiple times to open LLCs in Wyoming, and I highly, highly recommend them. You can check them out at wyomingagents.com. Now, if you incorporate with them, the first year is going to be more expensive. So it's the $102 state filing fee. You're going to pay that no matter where you incorporate. And then a $48 service fee. So that's more expensive than InkFile's silver package, where you just pay the $102 state filing fee. But moving forward, for every subsequent year, you're literally only going to pay $25 to maintain them as a registered agent. And you need a registered agent. A registered agent is a person or entity who is authorized to receive government correspondence on your behalf. Don't drop the ball. Don't incorporate without a registered agent, if you can even figure out how to do so. So $25, you're going to get the registered agent service. It is additional to get a mailing address with them, which I'd probably recommend. But the nice thing is, even if you don't pay initially for that mailing address, you are going to get the first 5 pieces of mail sent to your registered agent location, scanned, uploaded to wyomingagents.com for free. So I'd recommend just paying a little extra for the mailing address as well, but you don't have to do that. You can use them purely as a registered agent. Really, really good option. And for a while, I wondered, how do they make this work? How is a business able to sustain itself off, $25 per customer? And I think there are 2 explanations for this. The first is that it's a really stable business model. It's kind of like having a domain registrar, where once you buy a domain or once you register a company, there's a very good chance that you're just going to continue to pay those upkeep fees indefinitely, even if your business activity decreases or diminishes to zero, you might still keep that LLC active. I know a lot of people do. So once they get you as a customer, you're probably not going to leave. And that's how the $25 a month in annual recurring fees is viable for them. And then the other way is that they have an upsell, a pretty big upsell, if you need to, for when you need to do reporting with the state, because you do have to file an annual report with the state of Wyoming. If you do it yourself, it's $50. I do it myself. It's pretty easy to do. I'm going to link to the state of Wyoming's website in the video description below, and you will see exactly where to do that. If you go with registered agents to do it on your behalf, then it turns out to be a pretty big upsell. It's over $150 if they do the reporting on your behalf. So there are some upsells here and there that you'll get from registered agents, and just know that you can probably do those things yourself. It's more time intensive. There's a possibility that you'll do it wrong, and if you just want to eliminate that possibility and not think about it, then yeah, pay more via the upsell with Wyoming Agents. If you want to DIY, you can do that too. But yeah, overall, a really, really strong option. Definitely one that I recommend in addition to InkFile. And if you want to check them out, just click the link in the video description below, and you'll be ready to incorporate in Wyoming with the service of your choice. All right, guys. So I explained why you need an LLC, why you might want to incorporate in Wyoming, and give you the two options of InkFile, registered agents / Wyoming agents, and also explained how you can do the DIY option when it comes to getting an EIN number. If you have any questions, let me know. Again, disclaimer for the third time this video, I'm not an expert. I'm just somebody who's done this several times myself as a small business owner. Happy to be here as a resource and somebody who can assist you guys. But again, don't take this as legal or tax advice. Always talk to a lawyer, CPA, etc. The last thing I'll say is I am going to link up a video that will explain a little bit more about domicile / nexus and whether you would still be considered to be a resident in a state and the things that you have to do to essentially shift your residence from a high or moderate income tax state to a no or low income tax state. So keep watching. That video should autoplay next, and we'll see you in the next video. All right, thank you everybody. Bye.